Alright guys, welcome to this video. We're going to do a video today on sort of a how-to video. Some time ago I purchased this firearm here, this Walther PPK. Now it's made at the Walther factory at Fort Smith, Arkansas. There's a number of PPK models, Walther PPK models that have been made in various places throughout the past, I don't know, couple of decades. But when I purchased this firearm, it came with these black plastic grips, as you can see, and they're fine. I don't have a problem with them. They're very functional. The only thing, I was looking for a pair of brown ones. I kind of like the wood tone look on a dark firearm, and I was unable to find any black plastic ones. But I did manage to find a company called Altamont Company. They're out of Rantoul, Illinois, and they custom make hardwood grips for various firearms. Now I purchased a set of grips for the Walther PPK, which is this set right here. These are solid walnut. They're nicely done. They've got the Walther banner with some nice checkering, and they're custom made. The only thing is, and the reason for this video is, at the factory, Altamont makes these grips to fit the Walther PPK, which is manufactured by Smith & Wesson. Now, they do say on their website that these grips can be made to fit the Fort Smith, Arkansas version, made at the Walther factory, with a little bit of modification, such as sanding and filing. So that's what this video is about. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to fit these grips to my firearm and maybe show you guys what it involved with me, and it might help somebody. All right, so I'm going to get my camera set up and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I'm set up. So the first thing we're going to do, that you should do anytime you're cleaning a firearm, doing maintenance, fixing it, just inspecting it, whatever, is make sure that it's safe. So make sure that it's unloaded, which I'm going to do right now. I'm going to take the magazine out, set it aside. I'm also going to clear and make sure that the chamber is clear and empty, which it is. And we're going to get to it. Now, what I'm going to do is take off the old grip first, which is really just a one screw operation. And then I'm going to take a look at the new grips and see exactly why they don't fit, is what I'm anticipating. What exactly is going to be needed to make this modification. And then we'll go from there. I've never done it before. I've never actually had a grip before that I had to modify or anything. But you can see there's probably some areas of concern. I'll use this piece of plastic here to show you. You got this mechanism here, and on the other side, this is a moving part. So the grip, the new grip, the walnut grip is going to cover this. And I imagine if there's anything that impacts the grips from here is going to cause a problem. Same thing with back here, this mainspring. Also in here in the magazine well. All right, so we're going to take a look. So I've got the grips here, and they're two-part. They come apart. Let's look at one side first here. Let's look at this side. All right, as you can see early on, just a little bit of what this thing's all about. See if I can focus good here. All right. So if you notice in here, you've got a sort of like a routed cutout here that is raised. Okay, notice how thick it is. And this part here, it looks like would actually fit into this magazine well. Okay, and I can see it's definitely impacting a little bit. I can feel it doesn't quite slide into that space. All right, so a little pin fell out of this. We'll just put this aside. So, all right, so we've sort of identified one of the problems right here. They've talked about this on their website, that some sanding is required. And I'm assuming that it's going to be sanding along here, along these edges. Also up here, where the mechanism that I showed you that moves on the firearm kind of like sits in the well here of this grip. Yeah, let's see if it does anything with that. See if I can get this on there. Okay, it's on there. Okay, yeah, and I can tell you right now that the trigger, there's resistance. Okay, so this part here, which normally would move if you watch this, okay, that's what happens when you pull the trigger. It does not happen when I set this grip and try to get it into the closest position that I can on top of the thing. Yeah, it doesn't move. It's freezing it up, okay? So we've already got our kind of the direction that we're going to have to go. So what I've done is I've cut up some pieces of sandpaper. I've got some rough stuff here. This is stuff I took on my toolbox. Little pieces here. This is a little heavier grit. This is a little finer grit. And what we're going to do is we've made a little edge. And the little edge is going to be used to take off some material along the side. Now what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to do this on camera, maybe just to show you when I get started, but I'm not going to do the whole video on camera. I don't know how long it's going to take me. But I'm going to sand all of these edges around here, and I'm going to sand inside this well a little bit. And then we're going to put the grip back on and see if it made any difference, all right? So what I'm going to do is with this edge of this sandpaper, this rigid edge, you see I've got some straight edges, and I'm basically going to do this. Take off material. Okay. And as you can see, it does take off material fairly easy, even with this fine sandpaper. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go around the whole thing, do all the sides. I'm going to do this well a little bit, and then we're going to come back and see if that made any difference on my gun. All right? I'll be with you in a minute. Okay, I'm back. So I did make some progress in that the grip now sits inside that well. It sits flush to the frame. And I'm doing one side of the grip at a time, but the right side here sits flush to the frame. The only thing I noticed was that right here, when I got it to sit flush to the frame, I noticed that in this area right here, right where the slide meets the grip, if you notice that toward the front, there's more, let me see if I can focus a little bit. Yeah, it's hard to see it, but toward the front, there's more clearance. Toward the back, it almost looked as though the slide was sitting on top of the grip. So what I did was, I put a piece of sandpaper down flat on my desk here, and I took the grip like this, and I rubbed it back and forth along the sandpaper, right along this top edge. Now, it doesn't even look like I sanded it, but I did take material off. It, it turned lighter in color, but then when I brushed it off, the walnut color was dark again. So it didn't do any cosmetic damage to it. But now, when I put it on there, as you can see, there is a little bit of a space. There was a lot less space when I started. So that sort of worked. So what I'm going to do next is, the only thing I don't like is that this trigger pull still feels a little tight when the grip is on. So I'm going to work in this well area a little more. And what I've been doing is using this piece of paper, sort of creating a flat stuff, like almost like I'm ironing it. It's got like an iron shape on there, pointed in the front. And I'm just going to sand in here like this. And I'm going to work on this probably for another 10 minutes because I did a lot of it in here and it's still hanging up. So I want to make sure that I get that cleared. So I'm just going to do this back and forth for about another 10 minutes, and then we'll take a look. We'll come back and take a look. Okay, we're back, and I am going to show you what I've got. Now, if you remember when I first put the grip on, before I started this process of sanding, I could not pull the trigger, and now the trigger pulls. It seems to cycle fine. So now I'm going to take this off and I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to go to the other grip, which is this side, and I'm going to do the same thing. just to rehash, I'm going to sand around all of this insert, if you would call it that. I don't know. It's a routered out piece of wood. I'm going to sand all these edges that would impact the magazine well. And then I'm going to sand in here and do it a lot because the other side's got a similar type mechanism that works the trigger. So we're going to get to that, and I'll get back to you in just a bit. Okay, so I'm back, and I did have to do quite a bit of work in here. And if you're working on a towel, I had to keep getting the vacuum out and sucking all this sawdust that's coming off these grips. It doesn't look like a lot's coming off, but it's enough that every time I put the gun down here, I'd get powder and stuff in there. So if you're using a towel or something, make sure you keep that dust out of your gun. But I got a lot of it sanded off, and it seems to work a little better. I'm going to put the grips on now, and we're going to see how they function with both the grips on the gun. All right, so these little pins, they're not fastened in there. They're just sitting inside these holes like a peg, sort of like a guide where the two grips would go together. All right, and as you can see, they're on there. They look nice. Now with both grips on, let's see what they did. All right, first we'll just pull the trigger, and it does seem to be working. Now we're going to slide the rack back. There was no interference there, which I was hoping for. Nothing. Seems to have worked all right. It didn't. Right in here is where I was worried that the slide would start to run along the top of the grip, and it did not. The weapon decocks fine. There's no interference in here. Trigger pull seems okay. Now, I'm going to put the screw in. Now, they give you 3 screws with this. They give you a large, a medium, and a small. And I put the screw in without the grips on the gun just to see which one looked like it was going to be better. And it looked like the medium one worked. So we're going to put the medium one, the medium screw is going to go in here. And we're going to see if that, wrong side. Okay, give me a second here. Yeah, it goes in here. All right, so let me get my screwdriver. We're going to screw this in. Magnetic screwdriver. There we go. Let's see if that screw does not pop out too much on the other side. That's what I'm hoping. And it didn't, as you can see. As you can see, it's flush with the grip, which is what I wanted. And the gun seems to be functioning. Seems to be functioning just fine. Now, what I'm going to tell you is that I would not carry this firearm just yet. Before I would carry this firearm, because the grips are not simply for aesthetics, they also they are required to be fitted properly for function. I'm going to take this gun to the range, and I'm going to shoot about 20 rounds through it and make sure that I'm not having any problem with either the slide damaging the grip or it affecting the trigger, the hammer fall in some way, or the trigger pull. You know, I'm going to take a look at it and make sure that the gun's functioning correctly before I would carry it. But there you go. It's a nice looking grip. I paid $68 for it. It's made by a company called Altamont Company, which I'll show you right here. Altamont Company out of Rantoul, Illinois. If you want to look them up on the internet, they made a pretty good product. It seems to be, I'm completely satisfied. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it might have helped somebody. And thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. All right, thank you.